There's a truth few are willing to accept. The world doesn't respond to your noise. It responds to the silent force you carry within. Today we unlock a secret rooted deep in Stoic philosophy. Your presence shapes reality, not your explanations, not your arguments. Silent strength is more powerful than the loudest speech, and once you truly understand this, you'll know why the wise choose to keep their mouths shut. In a time when everyone is shouting to be heard, choosing silence becomes the ultimate rebellion. It becomes a statement of mastery. Reality bends to those who no longer need to declare their worth. They embody it. This is not about hiding. It's about building a presence so solid, so real that the world adjusts to you, not the other way around. In this journey, you'll discover how Stoic secrets for inner power are not taught, they are lived. How keeping your wisdom hidden magnifies your influence. How the silent strength Stoic philosophy teaches us to create without shouting, to lead without commanding. Pause, reflect, feel the shift inside you. If you find value here like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear less noise and find more power. Because sometimes the greatest revolution you can spark begins in absolute silence. Now let's begin. One reality responds to your being. At some point in a man's life, the noise inside his head grows louder than the world around him. He wakes up feeling behind. He moves through his day pushing, strategizing, controlling every detail, believing that force is the only way to survive. He speaks more, demands more, and thinks harder. Yet the more he tries to bend life to his will, the more life seems to resist him. It's like shouting into a radio that's out of tune. No matter how loud you get, the message never lands. We grow up being told that success comes to those who chase it relentlessly, that the ones who shout the loudest, work the longest, and demand the most will carve their mark. But there's a truth far older than ambition, and it's been waiting for us in the quiet all along. Life doesn't respond to our shouting. It doesn't yield to our cleverness, our speeches, our endless planning. It responds to who we are when the noise falls away. The Stoics knew this without needing modern language to explain it. They understood that existence bends not to intention alone, but to a man's internal condition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, not with the sound of his words, not with the sweat of his struggle, but with the quiet substance he carries." Picture a snow globe shaken by restless hands. Inside, the flakes swirl in chaos. You can shake it harder, trying to force a clearer view, but the harder you shake, the more disturbed it becomes. Only when you set it down, letting the particles fall, does the scene reveal itself. Our lives are no different. When we cease trying to outshout reality and instead let our inner state settle, life clarifies around us. There's a silent signal every man transmits into the world, long before he says a word. It's there when he walks into a room. It's there when he sits across from another human being. It's in his posture, his breathing, the weight of his gaze. That silent signal, like a radio transmission, either brings opportunities closer or pushes them away. It doesn't lie. It doesn't negotiate. It reflects the truth of his being with brutal precision. Most men resist this. They double down on control. They think that if they just say it better, work harder, and explain longer, they'll win. But the noise only deepens the dissonance. Like a radio frantically spinning between channels, they lose clarity in the desperate search for it. They don't realize that presence, true presence, requires less, not more. It demands surrender to being, not frantic building of images. A Stoic man steps away from this trap. He doesn't waste breath trying to prove himself. He becomes himself. He works on the only arena that matters, the still field within. And from that ground, his actions, his words, even his silences become aligned and precise. He doesn't seek permission to exist. His existence is his permission. This shift is not philosophical jargon. It's visceral. It's the difference between a man who carries peace like a river inside him and a man who carries panic like static. You can feel it without a word spoken. You know which one you want to be. So how does one begin to embody this? By noticing when the mind races, when the urge to fix, control, or shout rises. By choosing not to add more noise but to return to stillness instead. By pausing, like a seasoned sailor reading the winds rather than fighting them. by remembering that the world will not be forced into harmony. It can only reflect the harmony you already hold. The next time you are tempted to explain yourself, defend yourself, or chase approval, step back instead. Let the snow globe settle. Let the silent transmission of your being do the work. Reality listens in ways words cannot reach. You are either broadcasting calm clarity or restless confusion. Presence is a frequency, not a volume. The man who trusts this becomes immovable, not because he clings harder, but because he finally stops clinging at all. His life stops being an argument with the world. It becomes a quiet alignment with it. He doesn't conquer life. He synchronizes with it. Today, take one moment. Stand still. Breathe without urgency. Feel the ground beneath you like a mountain rests on the earth. Say nothing. Want nothing. Just exist fully where you are. Let your life, not your voice, announce your presence. Let the silent weight of who you are begin to shape everything around you. 2. Speak only when necessary. Words, like arrows, lose their power when fired carelessly. A man who speaks without weighing the silence he breaks weakens not just his message, but himself. In a world where speech is constant and noise floods every waking moment, restraint becomes a mark of strength. Speaking less is not about fear. It is about precision. Many believe that being heard means speaking often, and being seen means constantly announcing their thoughts. They flood conversations with half-formed ideas, dilute their wisdom before it matures, and scatter their presence before it can settle. Yet every word has weight. Every sentence either adds to your presence or fractures it. A man who speaks without purpose forgets that true authority comes not from filling the air but from owning it before uttering a single sound. The Stoics practiced this discipline like warriors sharpening a blade. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself, measured every word, knowing that speech shapes the mind even as it reaches outward. Epictetus taught that silence is the fortress of the wise man, not because he fears speaking, but because he understands that only necessary words deserve to breach that wall. Speech, like action, demands intention. Imagine a radio transmitting on a clear channel. Every message is strong, direct, unmistakable. Now imagine a signal filled with static, endless chatter, overlapping commands. One commands respect, the other invites dismissal. A man's voice works the same way. When you speak only what matters, your words carve through the noise like a blade through fog. When you speak to fill space, you vanish into it. At some point, a man realizes that most of what he once felt compelled to say did not need to be said at all. In meetings, in arguments, even in relationships, silence would have been more powerful. Not passive silence, but deliberate silence. Silence chosen like a sword kept sheathed, not because you lack strength, but because you know when to use it. The common mistake comes from a hunger for validation, a fear that if you do not explain yourself, you will be misunderstood, a fear that if you do not voice every thought, it will disappear. But a Stoic understands that truth does not vanish when it is not shouted. Wisdom does not die when it is not immediately shared. The deepest truths grow stronger in the dark, like roots pushing deeper into unseen soil. Every time you speak, you make a trade, a piece of your stillness for a chance to be heard. Make sure the trade is worthy. Make sure the words you spend are building something inside you and around you, not eroding the foundations you have struggled to lay. Today, notice the pull to speak without need. Notice how quickly the mind fills empty space with words. Practice holding that space instead. Let silence stretch between you and the world without fear. Feel the growing pressure of unspoken thoughts and learn to master them rather than be mastered by them. Speak when your words are necessary to protect, to uplift, to align with your higher path. Speak when silence would be a failure of courage, not when it would be a failure of comfort. Speak like a craftsman lays stones, carefully, one at a time, each placed where it belongs, each adding to the weight of the structure. In a noisy world, your silence becomes a signal. A man who chooses his words like precious stones commands attention without raising his voice. He does not need volume to be heard. His very restraint sharpens the ears of those around him. His rare words fall heavier than endless speeches. Let your words be few, but let them be anchors. Let them land in the hearts of others like seeds in fertile ground. And when the time comes to speak, Speak with the quiet power of a man who does not seek to be impressive, but inevitable. 3. Silent power over loud declarations. Some truths are too heavy to be shouted. They do not travel well across noise. They settle instead like stones at the bottom of a still lake, unseen but unshakable. A man who carries real understanding knows this without needing to be told. He no longer feels the hunger to declare what he knows. He simply lives it. We come from a world that rewards noise, where raising your voice, proving your point, and demanding recognition are seen as virtues. It's easy to believe that the louder you are, the stronger you seem. But loudness is a mask for uncertainty. The man who truly possesses strength doesn't need to raise his voice. His very presence speaks what his lips do not. There's a common mistake men make when they first taste a glimpse of wisdom. They rush to share it. They feel the fire inside and think the world must know. They forget that a fire exposed too soon can be blown out by the first careless wind. Truth matures in silence. It gains weight in solitude. It prepares a man not to teach first, but to live first. The Stoics understood this with the same clarity they brought to war, politics, and loss. Marcus Aurelius never announced himself as wise. Epictetus never boasted of resilience. Seneca never wrote letters to gain fame. Their strength came from embodying philosophy, not broadcasting it. They let their daily living, their small unseen victories, and their steady hands in chaos carry the message. Imagine a deep canyon. Speak into it, and your voice echoes back distorted. Shout, and the canyon shouts nonsense in return. But sit silently at the edge, and you hear the true sound. The wind against the rocks, the hidden river below, the pulse of the earth itself. The man who understands himself knows this. He speaks when needed. He listens far more. His words, when they come, are sharp like chisels, because they are rare, deliberate, and born from quiet certainty. The man trapped in noise believes power comes from the volume of his declarations. The man who is free knows power grows in the weight of his silences. One struggles to be heard. The other, by saying little, commands attention without ever asking for it. It is the same difference between pushing against a door and standing still while the door swings open to you. Modern life tells us otherwise. Social media trains men to narrate every thought, to chase validation through endless noise. Careers are built not on wisdom, but on appearance. And slowly, a man's voice becomes just one more layer of static. He loses himself trying to be seen. He forgets that what matters most is to be still enough that the right people, the right opportunities, find him naturally, like rivers finding valleys. A Stoic understands that speaking out of compulsion is weakness, not courage. He sees that true courage is withholding until the words are true, until the moment calls for it, not his ego. He knows silence is not absence. It is precision. It is discipline. It is building power like a slow-burning forge inside. There's a practice any man can begin now. Today, when you are tempted to prove your knowledge, hold back. When you feel the urge to correct, to teach, to interrupt, let it pass through you. Let the world guess at the depth of your thoughts, rather than witnessing the shallowness of your impulses. The next time you feel the need to shout your worth into the void, step back into yourself instead. Stand like a stone beneath the moving river. Feel your weight return to you. Words can only reach where actions have first cleared the ground. Until then, they scatter like seeds on rock. Be the soil first. Let your silence be so full, so rich, that when you finally speak, the world has no choice but to listen. Power belongs to those who no longer need to announce it. Influence belongs to those who no longer chase it. The man who embodies this becomes an invisible force, shaping the world without noise, without need, without fear. Today, guard your words. Speak less. Move from presence, not pride. Let your silences be heavy enough to bend reality itself. 4. Protect your energy by staying silent. Energy leaks faster through the mouth than through the hands. A man can spend hours working, fighting, building, and recover. But a few careless words spoken too soon to the wrong ears drain something far deeper. They chip away at the quiet foundation he has worked so long to build. We grow up believing that sharing is a strength, that to speak quickly, to voice every insight is a sign of confidence. But much of what passes for openness is a kind of poverty, a man throwing away his treasures before they have matured. Not every truth is ready to be shared. Not every insight is meant for public display. Some things need the slow silence of time to harden into real power. The modern world doesn't teach this. It teaches the opposite. Speak constantly. Post your thoughts, explain yourself, defend your opinions, reveal your soul at every turn. Underneath that noise lies a fear that if you stay silent, you will be forgotten. But true Stoic strength knows better. Silence is not erasure. It is refinement. It is the discipline of a man who values his energy too much to waste it on unready ground. Imagine standing on a frozen lake. Beneath your feet, cracks form with every careless step. Talk too much, reveal too much, and the surface shatters under you. But move with care, with thought, with restraint, and the ice holds. The same principle governs your mind, your ambitions, and your private visions for your life. Speak too soon, and your own energy breaks beneath you. Stay silent, and it gathers weight, focus, and momentum. Many men, especially in the heart of their working years, confuse exposure with progress. They feel an idea rising in them, a business plan, a shift in direction, a private realization, and before it can fully take shape, they speak it aloud. They look for approval, affirmation, and advice. They scatter the fragile energy of creation into 100 careless conversations. They wonder why their projects die stillborn. They mistake leaking for building. A Stoic does it differently. He holds his ideas close, not from fear, but from reverence. He understands that life's early movements are delicate, easily disrupted by the misunderstanding or doubt of others. He lets his energy mature in silence, like a sculptor who shapes his vision in private before unveiling it. He knows that sharing before the right time weakens both himself and the work. This is not secrecy born from fear. It is protection born from wisdom. Like a blacksmith shielding his flame from the wind, the Stoic guards the early fires of change inside himself. Not every ear deserves the burden of your plans. Not every conversation deserves the honor of your truth. There's a simple practice to reclaim this power. The next time you feel the surge to reveal your intentions, pause. Notice the craving to be seen, to be validated, to be encouraged. Let it rise. Let it burn itself out without moving your lips. Feel how quickly it fades when you refuse to feed it. Watch how your inner fire steadies when it is not constantly exposed to the cold winds of outside opinion. Words carry energy. Every conversation costs you something invisible. A Stoic man spends his words like a miser spends his last coins, not from fear, but from clarity. He knows that not every transaction is worth the price. He speaks only when speech is an investment, not a leakage. Your energy is the currency of your future. It funds your vision, your discipline, your capacity to endure. Protect it the way a general protects his best soldiers, not by hiding them forever, but by deploying them wisely at the right time in the right way. Speaking is no different. It is a strategy, not a reflex. Today, practice keeping one idea, one decision, one realization to yourself. Let it live inside you without the need to be shared or affirmed. Watch how it grows heavier, denser, more certain within you. Watch how silence, properly held, becomes a crucible where real strength is born. The man who guards his energy becomes impenetrable. His steps are deliberate, his actions are grounded, his presence is undeniable. He no longer leaks strength through careless words. He carries it with him, silently, like a hidden river shaping the stone of his life from the inside out. 5. Presence speaks louder than words. The strongest message a man ever sends is not spoken. It travels ahead of him like the scent of rain before the first drop falls. It is in the weight of how he stands, the patience of how he listens, the steady clarity behind his eyes. This is the presence that needs no introduction, no slogan, no declaration. It simply is. Many spend years chasing the right words, the right image, the perfect argument to gain respect, to secure a place, to be heard. They rehearse clever phrases, sharpen their wit, and master their stories. But words without rooted presence crumble in the wind. The world does not believe what you say. It believes what you are, even before you speak, especially before you speak. Picture a man stepping into a room. No announcement, no grand gestures. Yet, conversations are quiet, subtle. Eyes shift, attention tilts toward him without understanding why. It is not charisma in the flashy sense. It is not performance. It is the gravitational pull of someone who has made peace with himself. someone who carries no need to prove anything. His silence speaks volumes. His existence makes statements without noise. The common mistake is believing that power lies in how much you can impress others, that respect is earned by volume or by showing off knowledge. But respect, real respect, rises from stillness, not from spectacle. It comes from a deep alignment inside that no external validation can create and no external challenge can shake. The Stoics built their strength here, in the invisible. Epictetus walked the streets of Rome, a former slave, without announcing his wisdom, but radiating a force that no master could own. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire with a humility that needed no explanation. Their presence was their power. Their lives were their argument. Presence is not a gift, it is a practice. It is the daily discipline of being exactly who you are when no one watches, when no reward tempts you, when no punishment threatens you. It is forged in the silent decisions, choosing patience over impulse, choosing self-respect over applause, choosing calm over drama. Presence is built moment by moment, like drops filling a vessel that one day overflows without force. Imagine tuning an old radio. The strongest stations don't shout, they hum in clearly, quietly, and unwavering. The dial finds them naturally because they broadcast with steady, invisible power. A man's presence works the same way. He doesn't chase attention. Attention finds him because his frequency is unwavering, undeniable. Many men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s realized too late that the energy they wasted on impressing could have been spent on becoming. They spent years tuning outward, forgetting that all real signals are tuned inward first. They filled rooms with words and found themselves emptier for it. They sought loud respect and received hollow echoes. A Stoic lives differently. He carries his principles in his posture, his patience, his precision. He doesn't say he values discipline, he moves like someone who does. He doesn't argue for his wisdom, he lives in a way that wisdom can be felt. Every silent act of integrity adds weight to his presence, until even his stillness speaks with authority. Today, begin not by preparing your next clever remark, but by building your next silent foundation. Walk slower, breathe deeper. When the opportunity comes to announce yourself, let it pass. Let your actions, your steadiness, your unseen discipline whisper the truth you no longer need to say aloud. When you trust the silent work inside you, the world has no choice but to listen. The room shifts not because you force it, but because you embody something real, something unshakable, something rare. In a world addicted to noise, your silent presence becomes a revolution. 6. Harmony over argument. Conflict always promises something it never delivers. It promises clarity, it promises victory, it promises respect. But what it often leaves behind is noise, bitterness, and a hollow sense of having wasted strength where it could have been preserved. A man who has lived long enough knows that most arguments are like swinging swords against the wind. You exhaust yourself and the wind keeps moving, untouched. The world trains men to react, to defend every opinion, to correct every misunderstanding, to win every debate. The mind grows restless under this weight, believing that every misalignment must be fought, every offense answered, every slight corrected. But what feels like duty is often just ego in disguise, pulling energy away from the only battle that matters, the one within. A man who understands himself no longer enters battles that cost him more than they give. He knows the true enemy is not the one speaking across the room, but the turbulence rising inside his own chest. Winning arguments is easy. Mastering the self is rare. Imagine a pool of still water. Throw a stone and ripples break the mirror surface. It takes only a moment of disturbance to shatter minutes of calm. Every argument you choose to enter, every unnecessary defense you offer, is like tossing stones into your own mind. You break your own peace long before you influence anyone else. The Stoics taught that inner harmony is more powerful than any external victory. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journals not about how to defeat others, but about how to defeat anger within himself. Epictetus taught that no man can truly harm you unless you give them access to your peace. It is not silence born of weakness, but silence born of an unshakable understanding. When you are right with yourself, no external voice can throw you off course. Many men, especially in the middle stretch of their lives, reach a point where they are tired, not from work, but from fighting battles that never needed to be fought. They realize that the world doesn't owe them agreement, and that convincing others often costs them more than letting misunderstandings pass. They start to see that preserving internal resonance matters more than winning temporary applause. The mistake is subtle. It hides under pride, under the illusion of duty. If I don't correct this, who will? If I stay silent, they'll think I'm wrong. Yet the Stoic knows that others' perceptions are not his burden to carry. His burden and his freedom is the alignment of his own heart and mind. Picture tuning an old radio again. You find your station after much searching. The sound is clear, but instead of enjoying the music, you keep adjusting the dial, chasing even finer perfection. Eventually, the station fades into static again. Some things once found must be left alone. So it is with internal peace. Once you hold it, guard it. Do not disturb it with needless corrections and endless talking. Today, when disagreement arises, and it will, practice restraint. Let your first instinct be to return inward, not outward. Let the words fly around you like leaves in a strong wind, and know you are not obligated to catch them all. Strength is not in matching every blow. Strength is in standing so firmly that no blow moves you. Preserving harmony within yourself is an act of daily courage. It is a silent, ongoing declaration that your peace is more valuable than your pride. It is a refusal to be dragged into chaos by small minds or into anger by careless tongues. The man who masters this does not isolate himself from the world. He moves through it with greater freedom because he is no longer ruled by it. He answers only when answering serves a purpose greater than himself. He remains silent when silence serves his higher path. In a world addicted to outrage, the calm man stands out more fiercely than the loudest critic. His stillness becomes strength, his restraint becomes influential, his silence becomes force that bends others without raising a hand. And so today, protect your energy as you would protect a sacred fire on a stormy night. Let your peace be heavier than the world's noise. Let your stillness be a kind of invisible armor no one can penetrate. 7. Inner stability shapes outer reality. The outside world is only ever a mirror. It reflects not your wish efforts, but the quiet state you carry inside. A man who moves through life believing that force alone shapes his path will eventually exhaust himself. Chasing outcomes that slip further away, the harder he tries to grasp them. It's not ambition he lacks, it's alignment. Reality bends to the shape of your being long before it bends to the shape of your plans. In the silence between thoughts, in the moments when no one watches, when no one praises, when no one blames, there, the true architecture of your life is being built. Stability within becomes the unseen blueprint that reality follows without question. Imagine a compass placed on a trembling table. The needle cannot find true north because the surface itself is unstable. No matter how accurate the instrument, no matter how strong your desire, as long as the ground beneath shakes, direction remains lost. A man's mind, untrained and restless, behaves the same way. He demands certainty from a world he cannot still because he has not yet stilled himself. Many men spend decades adjusting circumstances, chasing better strategies, better conditions, better timing, believing that if they can just manage everything outside, peace will follow. But circumstances are the last domino to fall, not the first. Control of the outer world is a fantasy, mastery of the inner one is a discipline. The Stoics knew this not as theory, but as survival. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies but wrote only about commanding himself. Seneca advised emperors but warned that fortune's gifts were never truly ours to own. Epictetus, a crippled slave, found freedom in a prison of flesh because he understood where real sovereignty lived. In the mind, untouched by chain or crown. Stillness inside transforms everything you touch. It sharpens the decision. It slows panic. It clears away the fog that turns small problems into towering crises. Like a lake settling after a storm, clarity does not come by pushing harder against the water. It comes by waiting. By letting the sediment of fear and overthinking sink to the bottom, we reveal the solid ground of what matters. The mistake is thinking that stability is a feeling you wait for, something that arrives after success, after recognition, after external security. But stability is a muscle. It is built, rep after rep, in small, unseen choices. in how you breathe when plans fall apart, in how you stand when judgment rains down, in how you hold your focus when distraction pulls at your sleeves. You do not have to wait for the perfect season to begin. You begin now, wherever you are. You anchor yourself not by controlling the waves, but by planting your roots deeper than the waves can reach. You do this by choosing simplicity over chaos, discipline over indulgence, clarity over noise. Imagine again the snow globe resting untouched. The flakes slowly fall. The scene inside becomes visible not because you moved faster, but because you finally stopped shaking it. Inner stability is the same. Life reveals its pathways when you stop scattering your focus, your emotions, and your energy. Today, before seeking to fix anything outside, return inward. Check the ground you stand on. Are you steady? Are you aligned with what you truly value? Or are you chasing illusions that vanish as you approach them? Do not ask reality to reward confusion with peace. Reality can only mirror clarity. When you are right with yourself, opportunities find you without force. Relationships grow without strain. Problems shrink without needing conquest. The energy once wasted on controlling life can now be spent living it deeply, moving through it like a river cuts through stone, not by brute strength, but by patient, relentless presence. Let stability be your true ambition. Let the world outside shift as it must, while inside you remain anchored. Remain on the mountain, the storm cannot move. And when you do, you will see that life does not resist you anymore. It recognizes you. It aligns itself to the quiet frequency you carry. It bends, not because you commanded it, but because you became undeniable. In the end, power is not declared, it is carried. Presence is not built through noise. It is shaped in silence, day by day, choice by choice. You have seen how reality responds to your being, not to your desires. How silent power commands more respect than loud declarations. How guarding your energy and protecting your inner stillness builds a foundation that no storm can break. How presence alone can shift a room, and how harmony within matters more than winning any argument. You have seen that inner stability shapes outer reality, and that every word you speak should be weighed like gold. The wisdom of the Stoics calls you to live these truths quietly but relentlessly. To stop scattering your energy outward, to stop chasing validation, to master the small, invisible moments where true strength is forged. This is not something you learn once. It is something you practice every day. It is in the way you walk into a room. It is in the way you answer criticism. It is in the way you hold your silence longer than the world expects. Quiet strength, emotional control, resilience. These are not accidents. They are the deliberate result of discipline. Begin now. Start with small silences. Start by choosing your words as a craftsman chooses his tools. Build presence not through force but through clarity. And as you practice, notice how life bends differently around you. You no longer need to force outcomes. How you begin to attract respect, not demand it. If this message spoke to you, I invite you to share your story in the comments below. Share the silent victories you have won, or the moments when presence changed everything for you. Your story may inspire another man who is ready to walk the same path.